Hi, everybody. Welcome to Third Party, a Microsoft support show. Today, we're joined by VP of Global Sales here at US Cloud, Chris McCullough. And we're talking today about how to negotiate with Microsoft the easy way, which, Chris, there really is no easy way. Spoiler alert, guys. Typically, traditionally, it's extremely difficult process for lead procurement officers to solve for what the process is like when negotiating with Microsoft. There's a reason why they're one of the world's most respected marketing and sales organizations. Like, the guys are smart, they know what they're doing. So it's very typical for procurement folks to see late offers, see offers that require bundling, to see no budging whatsoever on offers that are made. But we're going to talk about a few ways that procurement folks can impact those discussions in a positive way.
Yeah, it's good to be here with you, and yeah, happy to talk about it. It's a convoluted process. It's a long process. It can be painful at times.
So tell me, what are some of the big challenges that large organizations face when negotiating with this behemoth that is Microsoft?
Yeah, Microsoft, as we know, is the giant in the room. Fortune 500 companies, large companies, when negotiating with Microsoft still holds a lot of the cards. And, the unified support piece is often the elephant in the room. It's a tough one to talk about, right? It's tough for a couple of reasons. The support isn't great. A lot of feedback we get from incoming clients about the problematic service that they're receiving. The changing in price and the price structure and how that looks year in, year out is a tough negotiation point. So there are several pitfalls throughout the process, but overall, it is a long and convoluted and not so fun.
And this is something that procurement folks have to do year in and year out, right? So they put a lot of time into the
Yeah.
negotiation. They get a deal signed. They're happy with it, and then they go, "Oh, you have to do this again in another 12
Yeah.
months."
Yeah, Tipper, there's a lot of fatigue involved with that, right? You go and fight the battle one year and maybe you come to a great conclusion, but that creeps up on you real fast. Start to have those discussions again. And, people's technology footprints, they're not getting smaller in general, they're getting bigger. And that comes along with increased price from the unified support standpoint. So each and every year, clients that come to US Cloud are having those issues of fighting through the negotiation, getting the best price, getting the best offering. And when they come to US Cloud with our model, how we organize it, how we price it, how we lock in things for years to come, there's a lot less stress in the ongoing conversation that has to take place.
Okay, so Chris, what are some of the
Yep.
challenges that large organizations face when going into these negotiations with Microsoft?
Well, they're substantial. And, if Microsoft is the giant, then the elephant in the room is the unified discussion. Why is that? Because nobody wants to address it. It's a painful conversation. The support that the IT team's getting is a painful experience. The process in which the procurement teams have to go through negotiating year in, year out is a painful process. So why does unified always get left off to the side or bundled separately or confused with other options? It's because it's tough for Microsoft to take that conversation straight on.
So in fact, they have to bundle it with something else, or they have to kind of put it over here because the situation isn't good.
Sure. There are all kinds of strategies that, companies like Microsoft will do in those situations. And bundling is a big part of it, right? There's the old adage, where there's mystery, there's margin. And if you don't really truly understand what the pricing per product, per service, per technology delivery looks like, well, there's a lot of moving pieces in those agreements then.
Okay, so I'm a procurement leader. I'm maybe a little worn out. I've
Mhm.
done 3, 4, 5 deals with Microsoft. What can I do better this year to put myself in a place where my negotiation does get a little easier?
It's all about options, right? So you have to start evaluating what those third party pieces look like. How are we organized differently? What's our deliverable look like versus Microsoft Unified? How is it priced? The more ammunition you've got to come to the table in that negotiation is ultimately going to help serve you better if you continue with Microsoft, or maybe walk you down the path of something entirely different.
So preparation is a big piece of the game, obviously. What can I do as a procurement leader to make sure that I am ready for that discussion? What should I have in hand? What sort of research should I be doing before I go into that conversation with Microsoft?
Several things. Look out to those independent organizations like Gartner, Infotech, industry giants that are really looking at all of the technology organizations and what it is they're providing to the marketplace. So, in preparing to talk to a third party or preparing for those negotiations with Microsoft, it's really important to understand what their technology needs are, right? So, what support have you consumed over the last year? What types of tickets are you placing daily? What do those technologies look like? So, there's a usage report that we often point people to within their Microsoft portal to kind of understand, all right, from a consumption standpoint, what am I doing? Let's get a baseline of what my needs are because my technology initiatives and my technology adoption for Microsoft may be growing. Is my support need changing? That's what you need to look at.
So we know that there's a history of Microsoft co-terming or bundling an enterprise agreement with unified support or the Microsoft support tax. What are some ways that I can get out of that bundle agreement? What types of things are important to Microsoft that I can take advantage of rather than bundling those two things together?
What we know Microsoft is focused on is increasing Azure spend, Copilot, adoption of new technologies. All of those pieces may or may not make sense for where you're taking your technology roadmap. The more things are bundled, the more mystery that's there. And is it really benefiting you? Is it the right proposal for you? And is it the right cost?
So I have a deal on the table from Microsoft. Who can I look to for additional help?
Organizations like Gartner, Infotech, right? Their whole business is helping you to navigate and to understand what it is that's being presented to you. Directions on Microsoft is another one. They're a fantastic resource to go to when it comes to Microsoft specific questions. How do I negotiate at EA? What kind of trainings do you offer to help me and my teams take the most out of these conversations and get the most out of the relationship going forward?
So our entire conversation today in preparing folks to have those negotiations with Microsoft in the easiest way possible has really focused on preparation. What other ways can US Cloud help procurement leaders who are going through this process?
Come, get the information, go through the process, and ultimately get a quote. Over 80% of IT leaders that come to US Cloud will save money. They'll save money with US Cloud, or they'll save money if they stay with Microsoft. Also, the Azure Optimization tool. It's a big savings play. 30 to 50% savings on your Azure spend. When you come to US Cloud, pull up the hood, take a look and see what's in there with regards to how your Azure spend is organized, and we're going to find some savings. We're going to find some waste there. And lastly, there's our partner network. Utilize them for additional resources. Utilize them for negotiation tactics. And US Cloud can help point you in the right direction to make sure this experience isn't ultimately as painful as it is year in and year out. Let's hit the easy button. Let's hopefully save you some money, but ultimately let's give you a better experience and give your technical teams a better day-to-day life. Recently, we were working with the sourcing director out of the UK, and she was just at wit's end about having conversation after conversation with Microsoft. What she was really looking for long-term was to alleviate that pain. What we were able to accommodate is looking at a multi-year solution with US Cloud. And so what really made sense for that individual is to say, yeah, I've got some comfort now for the next 3 years versus going back to Microsoft after my teams have expanded their technology footprint and need and have my pricing fluctuate wildly because of it.
What were her savings like?
50%, 52%.
What does that amount to in dollars to give?
So, in this situation, it was millions of dollars, right? This was a multinational company.
Is it every year it's millions of dollars, or this is like over the span of it?
So it's a great question. This is 1 year. So when you look at the course of the 3-year term, it's multi-millions of dollars. It's not just a pricing play. It's a value play. It's a quality play. We were working recently with a large global bank, and we had conversations for months and really progressing well. Technical teams had a lot of trust in us. Sourcing teams were getting what they needed, massive amount of savings. And, when it got down to the wire, unfortunately, we didn't get the deal. Microsoft came back to the table. with a fantastic offer, and they were able to keep that client. It was tough on us, but for that bank and for what they were looking for, it was a huge win. They were able to take a deal that was almost undoable, trim that thing down to something that made sense, and they signed a multi-year with Microsoft. But that'll happen as well. In many cases, we're going to see that client move to us because they want a different experience. But in some cases, you're going to find that it's going to provide a great agreement for you just because of how the impact it makes to the negotiation. Part of what Microsoft does is make it so hard to leave. I don't know, have you read SiriusXM, right? You try to cancel that thing, it's nearly impossible. They keep coming back. Oh, we'll do it for $5 a month. We'll do it for $2. They keep coming back to the point where it just makes sense for you to stay. And we get that. But what we feel will happen through that process is you'll get exposed to our teams. You'll have conversations, and the next time around, we're going to be positioned that much better to be that fit and to be that partner for the future.
Thanks again for joining us on Third Party Microsoft Support Show. Hopefully some of the tips that you learned today help you in your upcoming negotiation with Microsoft. We can help you with those negotiations and, of course, give you that valuable quote as you go into your next discussion with Microsoft.